lot of depth, but just, you know, maybe we can discuss a little bit too, because this is a level of, oh, I don't know how to say it, but it's like, if we can do this authentically and spirit-led, in a led way, it takes the whole project to another level, and if we never do this, we're probably going to stay at a very programmatic level that is probably going to fail to have the depth of fruit and be the leaven that we hope it is, and that the Lord is calling for. And it's called, we call it one-on-ones, but that apprenticeship stuff, really walking with people in intentional apprenticeship. And it is a little hard to get our minds around if we haven't had the experience of it. That's the hard thing. Maybe people do, and so they have people that have reached out to them, either peers or older mentors or whatnot throughout their lives, that have really walked with them and encouraged them intentionally. In the evangelical Protestant world, well, in the Catholic world, we have spiritual direction, which is, obviously a one-on-one setting where people grow. But first off, most people don't take advantage of that, and it's very different. Spiritual direction is sought out by the seeker, and they approach a spiritual director and say, I would like to be spiritual directed by you. And then even in the context of the meetings, it's a little different. The person growing is bringing things to the spiritual director. The spiritual director is advising and encouraging them and giving them prayer assignments. There's some overlap there, but it's still kind of a different thing, and it's a fantastic thing. And I would encourage all of us to have some kind of inlet in a one-on-one way. Whether it's meeting one-on-one with Sam, Father Patrick, or others too at the parish. I mean, you guys can do this with and for each other too. As you mature in the Christian life, you can provide a lot of that one-on-one feeding off of each other, or just an accountability partner. Say another leader, for example, two of you leaders, you're both leading different groups, and you decide, hey, let's get together once every few weeks to encourage each other, to pray for each other, to talk about what's going on in our groups. So there's a lot of ways that we can be fed one-on-one, and I know a lot of you have been fed in those ways, and I'm sure many of you have been feeding others in those ways too, or at different times in your life. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. The first point is just to distinguish spiritual direction from what we're calling one-on-one discipleship. We're not talking about spiritual direction. It's a wonderful, fantastic thing. And if you can connect people in, and people need that, want that, definitely connect them if you can. But we're talking about this apprenticeship. So in the evangelical Protestant world, that's one place, for example, where you see this is really developed. If you go hang out at a coffee shop anywhere, especially in the suburbs, you're going to overhear. Don't try to listen in on them, but you're just overhear them. Because they'll be there, right there next to you at the table, and they'll be telling they'll be sharing life together. Talking about stuff, walking with each other, praying for each other right there in the coffee shop, opening their Bibles together. You'll see it. And that's a beautiful thing. That's awesome. We should be doing that too. And I know we're busy, I know it's difficult, this is already a lot to do, and that's true. But it's something to pray for, it's something to look for, it's something that the Holy Spirit will lead us to desire more of. And there's a difference between saying, I'm busy, I don't know how I could ever do that, and saying, I long to do this, and I wish I could do it more. I am busy, so I can't do it as much as I want to do it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a little bit of the how could I imagine doing it? And if you're at that level, just pray for that grace to be able to, and maybe it's doubts, like what you have to offer, you're not an expert in this stuff, you're not a spiritual director. A lot of people have these doubts, right? Good, you're not a spiritual director, that's okay. You're a friend, you're a human, you're a disciple, and you have a lot to offer by showing this level of intentionality, of this personal interest in other people, But you're gonna pray for the opportunities, pray for the right thing. You're not gonna just come in and be awkwardly, forcing this, like, hey, meet me every week for the next, 3 months, and why, But look at, through your groups, when people say these things, so we made reference to this before, I can't remember the specific thing when I'm pointing to Tom, but I feel like he said something that was along those lines, but, really looking, or the guy that went to confession with your group, I mean, there was an intentional movement there, and I'm sure that a lot of the guys in that group were caring personally for that guy, and maybe there's other times too, so being aware and attentive to people. And what we like to do is just kind of suggest, and actually there's a tab in your binder when I gave a training on this a while back. It's called one-on-ones. So you don't have to go there now, but I didn't really go through a lot of the nuts and bolts in that training. It was only an hour, and I probably did too much on the big picture stuff. But this can flow real naturally, and it's a sequential thing that you're discerning. First off, many of you who are leading groups already did some great work filling your groups or starting to fill your groups. That's an awesome start because you've made personal connections and you've made personal invites to people. This makes it that much easier to follow up personally with them. But even if not, even if you just get a list from the parish signups, you can do this after a few meetings or so, or as your schedule allows. Try to, again, the Holy Spirit moves you to do this, you're gonna be able to do it. Try to make a time to check in. Or maybe sometimes some people have talked about going through the 8 weeks, right, or 7 weeks or whatever. And then in that season, that kind of off season, where you're not leading a group every week, if this is more practical for your time, then in that time, follow up with people that were in your group and use it to schedule some meetings. But I don't want to say do that as the program and do that as the only way. If the Spirit moves you to kind of, someone's on your heart and you really feel called to reach out to someone during the study, you'll find, make the time. But you check in and say, how is group going, or how was group? It's a natural starting point, and they'll share their experiences of it. You probably have a few things personally that you could ask about because of the stuff they've shared and things you've noticed and all that stuff. And then so it can be a one-time, for all they know, it's a one-time, one and done. You're just checking in, you're being a good small group leader, you want to just check in a little more personal. You ask those questions, how can I pray for you? Or I've been praying for you, and how's this going? How's that going to share from your own life? It'll be reciprocal. I love St. Paul's, I think it's in Romans 1, he says, and he's talking to a community, but I always use this for one-on-ones. He says, I long to see you, that I may impart to you some spiritual gift. But then, and he continues the thought, he says, that you and I may be mutually encouraged, yours and mine, or your faith and my faith may be mutually encouraged, yours and mine. And it's a nice give and take there. It's like, I want to do this for you. You don't have to say it to them, but you're trying to reach out to help this person grow in a way that everybody needs this kind of personal outreach. But also, you're going to grow as a result, and they probably have a lot to teach you. And that's the beauty of doing this, is that once you get into it, you realize, and I'm sure many of you would say, as a small group leader with experience, you're like, man, I get a lot. I get out of this. I get tons out of this. And I'm not just feeding others, but I'm being fed. So it's a nice mutuality there. But at the same time, St. Paul was the instigator. Like, you need someone to actually get over that cultural don't ask, don't tell thing. And the way another analogy to keep in mind for one-on-ones is often like if you go with the physical health route. If you'd say, like, we always give these seminars and group teachings, and we come on Sundays to hear Father teach a big sermon on physical health, as an analogy. One-on-ones would be like, after you've won the right with people through relationship and they trust it, and you're noticing things about their lives, it'd be like actually getting that stage of saying, so what's your workout regimen? What are you working on these days? Or a kind of that kind of personal trainer, not totally trainer, but if we never ask personally, how's it going, again, and we just have like seminars on prayer, but no one ever says, how's prayer going this week? Now, you're going to be doing some of that in your small groups, which is good. This is just another level of that. that you want to pray about, because that is really where maturity is going to happen and where the culture of relational discipleship is going to take root. So again, it's not meant to be this heavy-handed thing, but an invitation to pray about, think about, and look for those opportunities. And it should be pretty natural in terms of people you ask are not strangers, you know. And it's quite humbling and exciting and wonderful to be able to journey with someone. So anyway, the next step, so you get together with them as a one and done deal. They'll be appreciative for it, they'll love it, it'll be nice, and even if it wasn't like the most amazing thing for them, that's fine. They'll be grateful. You're showing personal care. I started doing this with a guy that I met at church, and we get together somewhat regularly now for coffee at 5:30 a.m. at Starbucks. And he's about my age, and we both have kids, and it's just really cool. And he's really starting to pray, and he's got a lot of questions, and it's just really neat to be a part of his journey. Then though, so when you do your check-in with the group, right? Individuals in the group. Start with the people you feel are the most hungry for, you know, that would want this the most, that would really want to grow, that are desiring more. And then see where it goes. If it was just a good, fine, it was discussion, but you feel like they're not really, you know, reaching to grow a little more, fine, let it be that. You'll probably find some that you feel like there's really a spark there. There's something they've told you something about. Yeah, I would love to be more consistent in that sort. I'm really struggling with this, and I just, you know, I need the Lord to show me more, and whatever. So if there's hunger there, then you could follow up another time. You know, say, well, I'll pray for you. How can I pray for you? And then a few weeks later, you could check in and say, hey, let's catch up. I'd love to hear how it's going. And at that point, if you could say, you know, again, if you feel this is good, what would you think about getting together every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks, or every month? You know, even if you're and going through something together. You know, really keeping each other accountable on prayer, or doing some Lectio Divina together on the readings, and encouraging each other. So that is something we always want to lay before you as a hope, as a call, as a level of intentionality that is hard to get to sometimes, but that's also it's just important. And any ministry where small groups really become the fabric of the place and a real reliable place of turning that corner into deeper discipleship, where people are then going to be filling those formation classes more and going to the staff for more catechetics. There's a strong relational one-on-one kind of component there. So it can be done. Many of you have been doing it. Keep talking with each other about that. I don't want to take a ton of time, but at the same time, I would like to open it up for a little comments, questions, thoughts, if you just want to share on that, or roadblocks or barriers or success stories or anything.
It was good for me.
Last year,
for the first time, and then, so Mike Loren is what our.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, that was.
And he would meet with you guys and check in once in a while?
Yep.
Tell us, how do you do that?
Well, and Father Patrick
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
Just to get together, have coffee, maybe late afternoon,
yeah.
have a Guinness down at
Nice,
Anders.
yes,
Yeah.
always welcome.
You know, so that was very good, because, you know, one of the things that I was thinking back from this morning, and if you remember when Father Ken first got here, one of the first sermons he gave in about prayer, about spirituality, and not everybody's at the same level. One thing he said was, start small. Our Father who art in heaven. Just say the Our Father. You know, and I thought, you know, because that was very big at a time for, you know, myself. And I thought, how about that, start small.
Awesome.
So,
Yes.
same thing here, you start small, right?
Exactly.
You get somebody, you start small.
And one of the barriers for some people is like, what do we use for resources, you know, like what's some kind of track to run on, or just like some options or some things to use. It is nice to have something, right? So as you do this, if you have ideas or things you've used in the past, you know, you can share with each other. I think we need to develop a lot more of this in terms of EC materials. But Sam and Father Patrick have a lot of stuff too they can share with you, stuff they've used with you that you can pass on to others, little blog articles, little excerpts from the saints, little exercises that you can do for that slight edge kind of discipline stuff to just go, to start small and take a small step. Lectio Divina is always a good way to go, but even, you know, picking some scripture passages or going to your connection, or other studies have like some specific verses pulled that aren't just the daily readings, but they're really good and rich for, you know, so, you know, the sky's the limit, but at the same time, I know we need to kind of give a little more in terms of tools, and, you know, don't hesitate to ask. Don't let that stop you from doing this, or just, you know, you meet with someone and you say, no, I'm gonna think about this. If they say, like, I met with this one guy and he's like, I want something to, just get me going in my prayer life, and I was like, really cool. Let me pray about that, think about that, and I'll get back to you. And then, you know, and then I kind of looked at my resources and prayed about it, and was like, okay. And I ended up giving him a daily devotional that I've liked a lot, and now he's doing it, and we check in on it. You know, so there's really no program. The wheel is very helpful to help you maybe decide, you know, help that person too decide, well, what area do you want to work on? Is it sacraments? You know, maybe it goes to Mass, but they need to learn how to go to Mass with a real open heart and prayer, and how prayer during the week can help you receive the Eucharist more fruitfully or something. So again, you have great resources on staff for that. You have great resources with one another to share best practices and stuff. So keep those conversations open. Keep your heart open. Pray for that, and we'll keep trying to come up with stuff that helps you along the way too. Go ahead. Please.
One thing that I really didn't do is one-on-ones.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't have the time.
Sure.
For my guys.
Yep.
A few guys I met with 2 times, some guys I didn't meet with at all.
Yeah.
It just depended upon
Yeah.
the person and, you know, just so many.
Yeah, and that's the reality, it's going to be as well. And so we have to kind of both be looking and praying for those opportunities, but realistic too, you know.
Can they be
And-
more like, can they be like phone calls? Checking in that way, or would you rather
Maybe,
be-
it kind of depends. I think it could be if you've developed the type of relationship with someone where that could work. I mean, I've had relationships with, like, actually James Carano, who works for the EC. In college, we used to call each other every morning at like 6 a.m. to get our butts out of bed and to get up and pray, you know, to keep each other accountable. And there was some of that. Sam, do you have experience?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, the beauty about one-on-ones is that you can get really creative.
Yeah.
So, like, when I was on college campus, like, when I was working with college students, like, a lot of my one-on-ones were done going for runs, because a lot of
cool.
college students go for runs. So, like, it helped me because I wanted to exercise.
Nice.
And, like, we would just talk on a run and, like, check in and everything like that.
Mhm.
You know, I have other things that are coming to mind are, like, grocery shopping. Like, you need to go grocery shopping, call up a buddy and, like, say, hey, let's check in, let's go grocery shopping, because I need to do it and you need to do it. Like, it's like essential things that you need to get done, and, like, you can be in relationship with one another while you're doing it. So it can be super
That's true.
easy. You know, I've helped people, like, clean their houses, and, like, because I'm like, hey, I want to meet you, I want to meet with you, I want to, like,
Yeah.
make this happen. I like cleaning, so
Cool.
I will help you clean your house. Like, but, like,
Monday through Friday.
it's
You have it one tomorrow. Suddenly one-on-ones just got, your
Yeah.
hand went way up.
But, like, you
That's
get what I'm
good.
saying. Like, you
That's
can
really
be
good.
super creative,
Yes.
and you can, like, by prioritizing these relationships and really loving people, you can help serve them too. Or, like, I don't know. You can just
Yep.
get super. That's the beauty of it. Is, like, you can just get super creative with what you're doing.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. And men, I just speaking as a man, I know that can be probably particularly helpful for men, because, you know, just sitting down and staring face to face isn't like, a lot of guys don't really think they want to do that. They in fact might eventually, but having something to do
Yeah.
is kind of nice too.
Like
Yeah.
in college.
Or chop wood, you
Yeah,
know.
it was like it's a different situation, but, like, another missionary that I was working with, he was meeting with guys, and they would always go play basketball or like play ping pong or something like that that was active. Because for him, it was like we're doing something active together, so it's not super awkward. Like because those things, like activity, helps open those doors. Like
Yeah.
not only on his level, but on the other guy's level, it made it less awkward and a lot more accessible.
Seems
So-
like a golf course would be good.
I was just thinking
Yeah.
driving.
Yeah,
That's what I
golf
thought.
is
Yeah.
a great place.
Golf.
That's right. Well,
My-
expensive.
My husband also does this, and maybe a little too much, but but he'll go to like morning mass. He'll invite someone. They'll go to morning
Sure,
mass together.
yes.
Go out for breakfast after.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic.
I guess not going. Okay, I should retrace my mouth. He is not that he's going to mass too much. I'm not saying
No,
that.
no,
but,
no, yeah.
The whole breakfast thing.
The eating out.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
meals together, like
Yeah.
you have to eat.
Right.
You know, you have to
Yeah.
fill in the blank, and you can just do it together.
Yeah.
Because then you're living life together, which
Awesome.
is the whole point.
I'll just make a suggestion. I was called for one-on-one also, and I would just suggest that maybe be a little more specific than too general, because I wasn't really told why I was gonna be meeting one-on-one, and I seriously thought I was gonna be either disciplined or kicked out of the group. So I think
Yeah, good
Oh
point.
my
I think you should
Yes.
really say, you know, why you
Sure,
did it.
yes, yes, right. Because again,
Think
it's
about going
not, it's not in people's experience.
We need to have a talk.
Yeah, so be very clear, say, I just wanna check in with each
Right.
person individually at some point here, I'd love to sit down and ask how it's going, and, you know, how I could pray for you, and just whatever, so yeah, be clear about how you pitch it, yeah.
Oh, and then with couples groups, do we meet like with couples one-on-one, or is it better to try to like I meet with the women?
Yeah,
you meet with
more
men, or like
men
that?
meet with
Okay.
men, women with
Sure.
women. But at the same time, as a couple, you might feel like, I mean, just as you can open it up like, we gotta have that couple over for dinner or something, and just do a dinner, and just more naturally, and maybe it's not as, but you can naturally ask those questions there too, and see where the conversation goes. So, yeah, there's kind of like, I like that way of putting it, it's creative. And there's kind of different levels here. On one level, it's just kind of an example of person-to-person ministry. It's being relational and caring about people. At a more structured level, if